Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC 296 Edwards versus Covington main card predictions for the final event, the final pay-per-view taking place December 16, 2023. Before we go into 2024, main event is a banger. Co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja versus Royval. Depending on how that one plays out, it might even be better than the main event and all the other fights. So we've got some pretty good fights on this card. Hope to close it out. Did pretty well last event, at least as far as the picks are concerned. And so I hope to close it out with an okay record, I would say, for predicting fights in 2023. And then move on to the next one. So let's go ahead and jump right in to the first fight. In the first fight on the main card, we have Vicente Luque, 22-9-1, taking on Ian Machado. Garry, 13-0, undefeated in a welterweight bout. So this is a pretty good test for Ian Garry when it comes to getting to that next level, right? I think he's obviously been able to take out some guys that he should be taking out if he wants to hit that level. But this is like the first real test. He got past Neil Magny. Unfortunately for him, though, wasn't able to finish him with, I think, multiple opportunities where he was supposed to finish him, right? He's supposed to go in there. You had to kind of finish that fight if you want to keep talking and all this stuff. Keep the hype up. You have to get those finishes, whether it's via submission, stoppage, whatever. So Garry is going to need to come into this one, and pretty much he's going to really have to do what Jeff Neal did to him, right? I mean, he's going to have to finish Luque in this one if he wants to keep that hype rolling and not have it slow down. Because I think if he goes in here and it's like a competitive fight where Luque is able to light him up, really bring the fight to him, it's not going to be good, because I think there's guys that would go in here and be able to light up Luque. We've seen it. Jeff Neal, very tough fighter. And it's not like a lot of people have been able to defeat Luque. So I do think if Garry goes in here and wins impressively, it'll be really good for him. If not, I don't know. The hype's going to start slowing down a little bit. If it hasn't already, because obviously with all the drama outside, there's a lot of memes going around and all that. So Luque, very dangerous opponent. I would say more so in close, right? Nasty combinations in close, nasty kicks, good takedown defense. But he might look for some wrestling here. I don't think he's really going to have to worry about getting taken down by Garry. I think Gary's going to, for the most part, keep the distance, try to kick the shit out of him and light him up, right? I don't think he's going to try to take him down. I think if anything, Luque might be the one to try to go in for the takedown, especially if things get a little bit crazy on the feet. I think he might try to go in there and take him down. Luque, there are moments where, although his striking is very vicious, he will eat some shots. I mean, we saw that obviously against Jeff Neal. We saw that against Tyron Woodley even. He gets into these firefights. He's willing to go in there and start throwing down. But the problem is when you throw everything you got into every shot, you're going to leave yourself exposed because you're going to start to gas out and then just whiffing air, right? If you're not hitting your opponent, I mean, it's just going to naturally slow you down. So I'm a little concerned if Luque goes in here and he's going to have to do a lot to get past the kicking, right? He's going to have to get past the leg kicks. Now, he has some good leg kicks, but again, I would expect Garry to kind of use a lot more movement, really try to utilize the kicking distance, all that, to keep a little bit of a distance and light him up versus just trading back and forth with Luque. And I think Garry can be hurt, right? We've kind of seen that, although not a lot, but like there have been moments where I think Garry, if he ate something like that from Luque, when he's exposed a little bit, it could be a little bit of a problem. And we haven't really seen Garry have to dig deep, right? We haven't really seen him go back and forth. Like when you look at Rakhmonov, we saw him have to go back and forth with Jeff Neal, and we've seen how tough Jeff Neal is, right? So that's like a very good sign that like even when he's not able to run through someone right away, he's still able to get through the adversity and then come out on top. We really haven't had to see that with Ian Garry. So this could be one of those fights where he finally has to deal with a little bit of offense from somebody else, where Luque is going to come right after him, right? He's going to try to just take his head off, and we'll see how he fights it, though. I think Luque, if he starts a little bit too crazy, he might unfortunately get finished. But if you make this a war for 3 rounds, Garry might be in a little bit of trouble, and we finally get to see him have to deal with some chaos, right? You might have to see him actually get rocked a little bit more and be in moments where he's getting taken down. He has to get back up and stuff like that. So Luque is definitely a good opponent. It's just that when you look at Garry with the nasty kicks, just the nasty ability to start lighting people up, I think he is a good fighter. It's just that he has to finish this one early, right? He has to just light him up, take him out, close him out. He has good cardio too. I think Gary's gonna definitely have good cardio. So I don't see him like fading or anything like that. And if he's able to take advantage of Luque having to close that distance a little bit to really get in close and land some elbows, maybe go for the clinch, all that, there's going to be opportunities for Garry to catch him when he's coming in, right? Whether that's with knees in the clinch or just elbows or just a lot of kicks, right? If he starts right away, we saw that against Neil Magny, kicks him right away, Magny's on the floor. So he's going to start right away. And I just think a lot of those attacks, as long as the fight stays not like brawly, like a brawly style of fight, I think Gary's going to be able to win this one. Maybe not the first round. Maybe the first round's a lot of the feel out, right? A little bit of testing, a little bit of throwing kicks here and there. We'll see how it plays out. But then that second round, I think somebody will get finished. And, we just have to see who that's going to be. Very tough fight for Garry, but also a tough fight for Luque, right? I think just having to deal with somebody on the come up like that who is obviously not just going to dive in for takedowns and do nothing with them, right? You're facing a guy who's going to come across the ring and literally try to take your head off. So Luque's got a lot coming to him as well. But yeah, this is a good test, and we'll see where Ian Gary's at. But with that, I'm going to go with Ian Machado Garry to defeat Vicente Luque. I'll take him to win by round 2, KO TKO. In the second fight on the main card, we have Tony Ferguson, 26-9, taking on Paddy Pimblett, 20-3. In a lightweight bout. So this is an interesting bout because Tony Ferguson is just not doing well so far, right? He's, at least in his past 6 straight losses, has just not been able to find success. And 3 of those have been by some sort of either getting KO'd or beat up and then submitted. So definitely not a good run for him. I think obviously for me, he is on his way out, right? I think that's safe to say. He's just obviously not able to hang with the top level guys, but that doesn't mean he can't hang with a newcomer like Paddy Pimblett. Really, this is the first newcomer that he's facing, right? All these other guys that he's lost to in the past 6 fights have all been veterans in the game. So he's finally getting kind of like a step down in competition. He's trying to be a gatekeeper at this point. They gave him that gatekeeper role in this fight. So we'll see how he plays out with this one. Now he's taking on a guy in Paddy Pimblett who arguably had a lot of hype, and his 4-0 coming off the ankle injury, the surgery, all that. So we have to see how that figures into all this. Maybe nothing, but he's not getting, Pimblett's not necessarily getting like he's not having to fight like Michael Chandler, his first fight back, right? They're slowly giving him guys. So this would be that step up in competition, even though Ferguson has not had great 6 fights. Paddy Pimblett, a lot of people thought he lost his last fight, even though they gave him a unanimous decision. He did get rocked in that fight. He also ate a lot of shots. He got taken down 3 times. He got the striking landed was close, but I think the argument was that like Gordon like landed the harder shots, right, and he took him down as well. So to get a unanimous decision victory, it makes it seem like, wow, man, he's crazy. I think this fight, unfortunately, for Paddy Pimblett might be a little bit more closer. Now, it is Tony Ferguson we're talking about here, so let's pretend that he is 100% or whatever. Good takedown defense. He can also land his own takedowns if he needs to. Didn't really try to do that, but maybe he tries to do that here. I think on the feet, Ferguson's going to just have the far better striking. It's more seasoned striking too. A lot of angles, right? He's got a good jab. If he looks like he doesn't have to be 100%, but if he just looks like a decent Tony Ferguson, I think his striking is just going to naturally be better. But the thing is Pimblett's going to obviously try to take him down, I think. Even though Tony Ferguson has good takedown defense to an extent, I think Pimblett is going to try to take him down. and then see what he can do there. And on the feet too. I mean, I don't want to say his striking is horrible, but I think it's not as seasoned as Ferguson's is. I think I saw somewhere Pimblett wants to make this a war. I'm not really sure that's the greatest thing, right? Like, what are we doing at that point? Like, what, you want to just trade back and forth with him? Like, just because he's lost 6 fights doesn't mean he's done, right? He could obviously land something of his own. He could pull off a submission if Pimblett gets a little bit crazy diving in for these takedowns. Or Ferguson could just get ran over. I think that's the sketchiest thing. You want to count this guy out because he has 6 losses in a row, but then at the same time, all of those losses have been against known, fairly decent competition, right? Good guys. And then he's fighting Paddy Pimblett, who has 4 wins on paper, but his last win was a little bit sketchy. So it's like, you look at it and you're like, he's going to run through him. You know, I don't know if he does all that. Like, I really don't know if he does all that. But Ferguson, it's like sketchy to go with him, because if you go, oh man, he's gonna defend the takedowns, he's gonna light him up on the feet, he's gonna bring that volume, he's gonna go for the leg kicks, he might get his own takedowns, he's gonna press forward, he's just gonna have the better head movement, get out of the way, boom, 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 you know, he's gonna do all that, and then he goes in there, and then he just gets clipped once, and he gets submitted, right? Or he gets clipped and then finished via ground and pound. It's just unfortunate. Or he gets taken down consistently and just gets beat up, kind of like he did against Bobby Green, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think Pimblett's going to need to finish him, but it could be one of those weird fights where Pimblett is unable to finish him because he doesn't want to just randomly get caught and then have this guy who is, because this is not going to look good if Ferguson wins, right? Whether he wins a decision or knocks him out or something, like, that's going to just absolutely annihilate all the hype for Pimblett. People are going to look at the last one and be like, yeah, he basically definitely should have lost it. Like people are just going to shit on him and not give him an opportunity. So it's kind of a lose-lose. And then if Pimblett wins, it's like, well, obviously he should have won, right? He now Ferguson's 0-7 in the past 7 fights. So yeah, just a lose-lose for him. Ferguson, just go out there, try to make it a war, right? If he wants to make it a war, I mean, why not? You know, I don't really think Ferguson has to worry about Pimblett like flash KOing him on the feet. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. So let's hope that Pimblett, because that's who I'm going with, puts on a pretty dominant decision. So I'm gonna go Paddy Pimblett to defeat Tony Ferguson by decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov 17-0 taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in a welterweight bout, 17-6-1 for Thompson. And I mean, right off the bat, I think Rakhmonov, nasty, just absolutely nasty. If he would have went to a decision with Jeff Neal, I think it still would have been one of those things where he faced that adversity, he got rocked, you know, he got a little bit of trouble in there, but he came back and put on a good decision. But the fact that he went in there, he definitely ate some shots, but he lit up Jeff Neal, wasn't able to take him down, but standing rear naked choked him basically. Like, after he got rocked and kind of came back a little bit from that and still stayed on him and lit him up and hurt him, and then ended up finishing the fight against the guy in Jeff Neal who, besides that, never was finished inside of the UFC, against who's fought some tough guys, right? I think that's just impressive, right? And I think that was like the fight that I needed to see before picking him against someone like Stephen Thompson. Because Stephen Thompson, when you look at him, he's been in the game, right? He's had losses, he's had wins. He showed in his last fight against Kevin Holland that, like, you can't just come in here and think you're going to outstrike me. Again, Stephen Thompson is very good at striking. So when he fights guys who are just going to go in there and do nothing but strike, I think he can outperform them, right? I mean, even in the fight against Jeff Neal, 171 to Jeff Neal's 85 significant strikes. Now, granted, Jeff Neal could use some more offense here and there, but still a tough fight for Stephen Thompson. He was able to pull off that decision against Vicente. Luque pulls off that unanimous decision, outstrikes him. But in the fights like Anthony Pettis, he gets KO'd by him, right? Against Darren Till, that was an awkward fight, really not a good one. Both guys, I think, honestly, were just afraid of rushing in on each other. But we've seen Stephen Thompson be that kind of guy who, if you pressure him and shut him down, whether that's just with the cutting off the octagon or utilizing the wrestling, he doesn't output too much volume in there. And he really needs somebody to go in there and strike with him. But that's the problem, right? That's the thing, is he's fighting a guy who, in my opinion, will strike with him, but not the entire fight. Like, Rakhmonov will try to take him down. And that's that moment where Thompson is having to basically deal with that for however long that's going to take place, right? Half the round, who knows, up against the fence, all that. Thompson is going to try to bait him in as well, but I think Rakhmonov is going to be able to shut that down, kind of just shut him down, get in his face. Again, if Rakhmonov didn't have that that fight that he had with Jeff Neal, I might be sketched out a little bit, but for me, it was enough to see that he's going to go in there. He can fight the very best, and then he can also, in the ending of a fight, after getting hurt, pull through it and then find a way to finish the fight, right? He's not going to just coast and, I'm going to win a decision. Like, this dude wants to find a way, whether it's KO, TKO, whether it's on the feet, whether it's a submission. And that's the part that's going to be annoying, is him shutting down Thompson. Now, Thompson, like I said, bait him in, try to light him up with the combinations, keep a distance. He's going to have to do a lot of that because, like I said, I think if he fights kind of like how Bilal Muhammad fought, where he closed off the octagon, he ends up getting 7 takedowns. Now, granted, Thompson, he can defend some of these takedowns, but it is a 3-round fight, so it's not like it has to go 5 rounds. And, Rakhmonov's not going to just stand and bang with him like he did with, Thompson did with Kevin Holland, right? He's not going to just, I'm not going to take you down. Of course, he's going to try to go for the takedown. But I think even on the feet, he's going to be aggressive, and that'll be interesting. Now, obviously, Rakhmonov, he could get caught, right? He could get a little bit careless in there, and Thompson just walks him onto a kick, walks him onto a counter, blitzes forward, pop, 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 fires off a flurry and hurts him, and then it changes the fight. But I think Rakhmonov will press forward. He will cut off the octagon, and he'll be able to get those takedowns successfully. Now, if he gets a finish on Stephen Thompson, who, he got KO'd by Anthony Pettis, right? And that's pretty much it. Like, that was like the only, like, oh shit, he got rocked and then he just got KO'd. That's even more impressive. So if Rakhmonov goes in here and just annihilates him, like, Jesus, like, he's going to be a problem to deal with for one of these guys, whoever wins the title, even if it's Leon Edwards. So for me, I like what I've seen in Rakhmonov. I understand Thompson's nasty, but this is not Kevin Holland he's fighting. It's Shavkat Rakhmonov. So I'm going to go Shavkat Rakhmonov to defeat Stephen Thompson by a decision. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Alexandre Pantoja, 26-5, taking on Brandon Royval, 15-6 for the flyweight title. Now, their previous fight was not for the title, but they have fought before, and Pantoja was able to get the victory in that one. So have to see how this one plays out. Now, that wasn't too long ago, right? It wasn't like it was 5 years ago, right? 2021, August 21st, 2021, he won via submission, Alexandre Pantoja, in round number 2 via rear naked choke. Now, this is one of those fights that I think if they fight, like, I could see these guys fighting again, right? It's like, unless Pantoja finishes the way he did, like the last one, I could see these guys fighting again. Because this is one of those fights where Pantoja is going to go in there aggressive, right off the bat. Try to get in your face. Try to create that scramble. Boom, boom, boom. Like, he just trusts himself to kind of overpower you on the grappling to where he's backpacking you and then he's pulling off a submission. And he'll throw himself into the fire just so he can end up in these positions. Now, that's the sketchy part, because at the end of the day, if you take a knee to the face, it's all over, right? It doesn't really matter. You could be the zombie, whatever. If you take a clean knee to the face or a clean, spinning back fit, like anything like that, it's all over. And that's my concern. And so my only concern in this fight is that Pantoja just runs in here like he does usually. And you're like, oh, here we go, right? He's going to create. And then boom, he just gets absolutely flatlined. Kind of what like Royval did against Matthews Nikolai, right? He just kneed him in the head, like, and it's all over. Like, that's kind of what sketches me out. Now, granted, Pantoja's kind of used to just eating some of these shots. So I'm not sure that he cares too much about that. I think he still starts to fight fast, and Royval is going to try to take advantage of him being overly aggressive and trying to take him out. And it's not to say that Royval isn't able to pull off a submission too. Now, granted, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen just by the nature. Like, I don't think Royval is going to be able to reverse position like he did against Matt Schnell and then pull off like a guillotine, unless Pantoja is just badly hurt. I think more so it's going to be kind of one of those scrambles that Pantoja initiates, and then it's just a matter of time. He's on top of him, backpacking him, and he takes him out. Like, I really do. Now, like I said, Royval could obviously rock him in there. If they fought out of 10 times, maybe he KOs him like 3 times, but the other 7 times he gets submitted, right? So we'll see if this is going to be the time where Pantoja just eats a flying knee or something like that, or if it's Royval just being submitted. But I think it's fast. Like, I don't see this playing out for 5 rounds, third round, unless both guys take more conservative way to it. I think Pantoja's best way is to just overpower him in the grappling, get him down, utilize the backpacking, and just get him in some sort of submission. I think that's pretty much it. Pantoja is a very good fighter. He has that adversity, he has that ability to go 5 rounds. And even in that fight against Brandon Moreno, like, it was controversy. What did he win? Did not? Either way, like, he showed that, like, he can hang in there against the very best. He landed 6 takedowns in that fight. He ate some nasty shots. He got the knockdown though, right? So he's going to keep coming. He looks gassed too. Like, he's one of those guys where you kind of look at him and you think, well, damn, this dude's gassed out. But it's like, I don't know, it's like part of his plan. It's like he just looks kind of gassed out, and then boom, he comes out of nowhere and he's on top. Yeah. So Royval has to be very, like, there's going to be little room for any mistakes. And that's why these kind of fights end quickly or end early, because you make that one mistake, it's all over. Like, it's all over. So we'll see what the game plan is for Royval. I think for him, it would be to take advantage of Pantoja getting overly aggressive, leaving himself exposed, slowing down, right? Because Royval does, I think, probably have the far more technical striking, the more patience. But Pantoja, I think, is just very strong in that grappling. So if he's able to get a hold of him, I mean, it's going to be a problem. Like, this dude is just neck cranking people, rear naked choke. And he has the ability even, I mean, we saw Pantoja against Matt Schnell. He TKO'd him in round number 1. So he even has the ability to just hurt guys bad, and take them out. So the only 2 fights he lost, they were decisions. 3 fights decision. So he's not getting like finished, even though when you think of Alexandre Pantoja, you think of him being that guy who's probably, there's no way he hasn't got knocked out, right? But he finds ways to get these submissions, or like we saw in his last fight, the decision. So very interesting fight. Even if it goes for a round or 2, I think it's going to be one hell of a fight. I'm calling fight of the night. But that, I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja to defeat Brendan Royval. I'll take him to win by round 1 submission. In the main event of the evening, we have Leon Edwards, 21-3 and 1 no contest, taking on Colby Covington, 17-3 for the welterweight title. Leon Edwards is the current champion, and he is coming off of 2 wins against Kamaru Usman. Now, that first win against Kamaru Usman, he did win by KO TKO. He did win by that head kick in the very final minute of the 5th round, but he was definitely losing that fight before that. So it's not like, domination, and then he kicked him in his head. Like, he definitely went for the Hail Mary, set it up. He read it for that entire fight, and he was able to land it once he caught on to that read. And unfortunately for Usman, he went night. He did get taken down 1 time in that fight. I mean, 5 times in that fight. Edwards was able to land 1 takedown. When they fought again, not as exciting, majority decision, right? So somebody thought it was a draw. Usman was able to land 4 takedowns. Edwards did more of the striking, back and forth. Pretty good one. Wasn't actually the most exciting fight, like I said. Good one in the sense of, like, both guys are very close in their skill set, but bad, and it's like nothing crazy happened. He did fight Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz, towards the end of that, rocked him very badly and was, looking like he was about to go in there and kill him, but they ran out of time. Edwards landed 4 takedowns in that one. He no contest against Bilal Muhammad. A lot of people want to see that get ran back. I definitely do too. I think that'd be interesting. And then before that, he's taking out everyone, Dos Anjos, Gunnar Nelson, Donald Cerrone, and then you're just going too far back. He's taking out Vicente Luque. So yeah, I mean, look, I think the KO, the head kick thing, that's obviously not going to happen every time. When you look at someone like Edwards, he's not necessarily diving in for these takedowns. He can utilize grappling against worse wrestlers and all that, but he's not going. I think for the most part, has a little bit of a kicking game. Kind of he'll walk backwards, right? Try to get you in, fire in. Like he's overall like a really solid fighter, right? But he's not overly aggressive, knocking everyone out. Like I think there's a reason why like the majority of his fights have gone to a decision, right? He's got submission in there, KO TKO, KO TKO. But for the most part, I would say like decision fights, right? He's either out grappling people, holding them down, getting the control, or kind of outstriking a wrestler because he has good takedown defense, right? He definitely has solid takedown defense. Now, this is where it gets interesting because Colby Covington, right? He has good wrestling. I think he also is going to have good takedown defense. Colby Covington, he only got taken down once by Usman, right? And then he didn't get taken down in their first fight by Usman. Not that Usman went in for the takedowns. For whatever reason, that was more of a striking battle, but I still think Covington has pretty solid takedown defense. I don't think Edwards is going to be the one to constantly try to dive in for takedowns against Covington. I think Covington is one of these guys who, when he tries to go in for those takedowns, like he's pretty content on just staying in those positions until he gets a takedown. Whether that's up against the fence, he's trying to take you down, Like he really wants to take you down. And I think obviously that opens up his striking. Now his striking is definitely not going to be better than Edwards. Like Edwards, I think is going to have the more variety to his striking, right? He has kicks, all that kind of thing, and probably the faster one too. Like he's just gonna have a little bit more variety to his striking, whereas Covington is a lot of like pitter patter, get in your face. Just he's not knocking people out. He can definitely string together some good combinations. I mean, he landed some pretty solid strikes on Jorge Masvidal. Not enough to like take him out or anything, but he still was able to land some pretty good shots. And again, another guy who's not knocking people out, right? He got taken out by Usman. And that's a little concerning, right? It's definitely a little concerning because I think Covington can make this fight a war, a grueling back and forth. But there will be opportunities for Edwards to really annihilate him because he's going to get, like even against Masvidal, like he definitely took some damage in that one. There's moments where he can get clipped for Covington, and he doesn't really feel. He just seems like a pitter patter guy. He's not knocking people out. He's gonna just try to overwhelm you with the striking, kind of break you down. He wants to get in your face, wear you down, turn it ugly, make it ugly, and see what he can do with that. Whereas Edwards, a little bit more technical, I think. But I mean, if he's slowing down, because that's the thing. Covington's going to press forward. He's going to make it a fight. He's going to get in his face. He's going to have moments where he leaves himself a little bit exposed just to probably try to get into that range, brawl with him, turn it into a back and forth war. Now, I think if Covington can do that and utilize the takedowns, utilize the pressure, if Edwards is not able to get any sense of space to land some of these kicks to the legs, to the body, and just utilize some of his striking, if he gets kind of shut down, Covington can definitely win a decision. I don't think Covington knocks him out, right? I don't think, unless Edwards is just gassed out for some reason, right? Which I don't, maybe, but I think at that point, both guys will be kind of tired, obviously, from being in a war. But I think if Covington press forward and makes it seem like he's doing more of the damage, even if he's not necessarily hurting him, but just because he's out voluming him on the feet, that's where I think we might end up with a new champion here. And it could be one of those fights where honestly neither guy is too aggressive and it's not the most exciting fight, but Covington pulls off like a decision, right? It might be very similar to their fights with Usman. But I do think Covington will definitely try to come after him a little bit more. And we'll see if Edwards can kind of hurt him like Usman did in their first fight. Well, it could be a thing, right? Maybe Edwards. But then that's the thing is Edwards has pretty good kicks, but I don't see him like landing a big punch and knocking Covington out. I feel like Edwards is really gonna have to utilize those kicks. So, like, he's gonna have to take away the movement to where Covington's just like limping around on his leg, or he eats too many body shots, something like that. Or so, yeah, I don't really see Edwards like flash KOing him. But it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be one of those fights where you're like, oh shit, who's gonna? Because I think Covington, like I say, if he presses forward, gets in his face, it might not be the prettiest way to win. But if he's just controlling the octagon, and then even if he's eating shots when he's throwing his own shots, it'll just make it seem like he's doing a little bit more. So yeah, this could definitely. I think when you have these kind of fighters, right? I wouldn't say like Edwards is a dominant fighter, right? I think if he runs into someone like Bilal Muhammad, if he runs into one of these guys who's a little bit better grappler and starts improving their striking, like that might be tough for Edwards to compete against. I think he might have just had Usman's like number. Like, I honestly do, because let's say Usman would have won that fight and didn't get KO'd. I mean, we might not even be here right now, you know. And even in the last fight, somebody scored it a draw, right? So it's this division is about to go through like multiple champions probably, and you got Shavkat Rakhmonov coming right up in there too, right? Who knows what he's gonna be able to do? And if Vicente Luque wins again, who knows what he. So there's just a lot of changes probably in the next year with this title. But yeah, Covington, he's kind of getting that second shot just because Usman isn't that champion. Second shot at another guy. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Colby Covington on this one. It's a little bit sketchy, but I feel like he's so adamant at getting those takedowns, and I don't think he really has to worry about Edwards' like power. And if Covington's just constantly pressing forward and staying in like a boxing range, or just clinching against the fence, he's not gonna have to worry about getting kicked, right? And he has to be careful though. But yeah, I'm gonna go Colby Covington on this one. It's a hard one, but I'm gonna take him to defeat Leon Edwards by decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 296 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, December 16th, the final event for 2024. I hope you guys watch it. I hope the fights are good. Have a happy new year. Happy holidays. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.